What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode number 8 of the Angelo podcast. This last video was actually pretty cool. I interviewed my boy Jake. He's actually a sophomore at UCLA. We go over how he got into UCLA. Pretty cool story. He was salutatorian at his high school, got like a 4.8, went to UCLA, majored in mechanical engineering, and then talks about him joining the Entrepreneur Club, how to get into UCLA, what it's like kind of these first 2 years, and just any tips he has for everyone who's actually curious about his career path, his journey in college, and it's actually pretty cool. So appreciate you guys. I hope y'all enjoy the episode. All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Angelo podcast. I'm here with my boy Jake. Jake is actually an undergrad at UCLA, majoring in mechanical engineering. He's currently a second year. Funny thing with me and Jake, we actually met at Brew and Walk. He was selling some merch, some great shirts at Brew and Walk, and it just caught my eye. And then Jake kind of like showed me that this is part of this entrepreneur club, and we kind of hit it off. And I was like, I gotta get this guy on the pod. So welcome, my boy Jake. Welcome to the podcast, brother. How are you today?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm doing great. Since finals just finished, just chilling at home, hanging out with friends, having a good time. So yeah, thanks for having me on the podcast.
Yeah, of course, man. How were finals? Everything went well. We were chatting earlier. You said you got a couple of A's.
Yeah. No, I mean, because this quarter was definitely a tough one, just with like all the responsibility I was juggling with. Yeah, and all because since I'm a second year now, like last year was my first year. This year I'm taking on a lot more responsibilities now that I've like already been in like clubs that I first joined last year. Now I'm like taking on leadership positions. So it's kind of like
Wow.
a lot more thank you, but like a lot more to juggle with, right? With grades, with school, with also just extracurriculars. So yeah, tough quarter, but got through it, and I think I did pretty well. A few final grades came out, ended up with A's, and still looking for one more. That hasn't came out yet, but I'm excited to see what grade I get. So yeah, it's pretty good.
Dude, awesome. I'm so proud of you, man. I know, like, when we talked, I could tell you had it. Like, you had that it factor with how much you grinded at school, with work, with your clubs, and just kind of like your ambition you have going forward these next few years. So, very happy that you ended the year strong, and I'm excited to just kind of learn more about you. I think your story with how you got into UCLA, what you're doing currently, you're going to inspire a lot of your classmates who are in that position you are right now, but also the younger generation who is trying to apply to UCLA and wants someone who kind of has been through the ropes. And I feel like your story is going to inspire a lot. So I just want to say thank you so much for jumping on the pod, man.
Yeah, thank you so much again.
So,
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
of course, brother. So let's kind of start in the beginning, right? Why don't we talk about where you went to high school, kind of what grades you had to apply to UCLA, and then what schools you applied to? Like, was UCLA your dream school, or did you have other places you applied to as well?
Sure.
Go on.
Yeah, for sure. So I went to, a very regular, very standard public high school here in like the OC area. I'm from like Hacienda Heights, so went to Glenn A. Wilson High School, not too big. I think like 1,500 kids, tops, so very averagely sized school, nothing special. I think like grades wise, I wasn't, I wouldn't say I was like that one guy who was like way too focused in school. But I did get good grades. I ended up being like, what is it called? Like the uh solitary what is it called? The solitary?
Oh, salutatorian.
Salutatorian, exactly.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
salutatorian of my high school. So ended up with pretty good grades. But I mean, I don't even know what the name was for it. So like, it's pretty evident that I didn't really care too much about it, right? So yeah, so like I think that grades was like you said, like grades was probably a factor as to how I got into UCLA. I think I ended my high school career with like I think like 4.8 GPA.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's really good.
that's kind of including like the AP classes I was taking, which kind of
Mhm.
boosted your GPA beyond that 4.0 grade scope. Yeah, and yeah, so that was kind of like my range. Yeah.
Wow. So I'm a firm believer that success always leaves clues, right?
Hmm.
And your success in high school is evident of that 4.8 salutatorian. What was that like? Was that a lot of studying after class to kind of put in the reps in to do well? How did you achieve that?
Yeah, so I think that I was more of, like my mindset in high school has always been, I obviously wanted to get good grades, but I
Hmm.
always wanted to do what was fun to me and what was meaningful to me and have
Hmm.
fun while doing it. And so studying and school was fun to me, and so that's
That's
why,
awesome.
yeah. So I wanted to keep it up. It was kind of like almost like a game to me. It was kind of like, I wanted to do my best. Um, Almost like each test was like a challenge. Like
Hmm.
I'm not too like stressed about it in the sense where like, oh, it's like if I don't do well, like my life's over, but it was more like, oh, like I want to do good because like it just like it's a nice challenge for me, like just how like games would be, right? So that's kind of the
Yeah.
approach I had with that. And then also I focused a lot of time, on developing myself in other ways, like through extracurriculars. I was
Yeah.
on the cross country teams all 4 year.
Oh,
And
wow.
that was a big part of my high school journey. I spent a lot of times running with the guys, and it was great. Like it developed myself like physically and also like mentally. That like mental strength that it kind of like gave me was
Hmm.
pretty pretty amazing. I think without that, I wouldn't have been at the place I am today without the mental strength and like you know, um, that it has like honed on me, right? And so that was amazing.
Yeah.
As well as, I kind of cared about, just other clubs and things like that. I was just doing in high school. So I did a bunch of like extracurricular as well on top of my grade, on top of like keeping up with school. So yeah.
Yeah. So it seems like you're very well rounded. You did cross country as well as you did extremely well at school, got that 4.8. When it came to applying to colleges, what colleges did you apply to? And then any tips for like our younger viewers who may be applying to undergrad this quarter or next quarter?
Yeah, so I think when I was applying to college, at least, like the goal wasn't really looking at like the top names, right? Like I obviously didn't
Hmm.
apply to a lot of like the top name colleges. I think in the UCs, because obviously I'm a California resident, so
Yeah.
like I was like, the UCs are going to be a lot cheaper for me, and that's why I wanted to apply here. So I applied to UCLA, UC Berkeley, I think Irvine, and then San Diego. Got into all
Hmm.
four, and then
Congrats, man. That's awesome.
thank you. And then besides the UCs, I obviously applied to like the Cal States. Those were kind of like the
Hmm.
safety schools that I had, set up for myself, right? And then also I applied a few out of states and a few private schools as well. I applied to Cornell and USC and Stanford. I
Hmm.
think those were the three out of states and privates that I applied to, and I got in both Cornell and USC, but I didn't get in Stan.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
those are kind of like
Never the
this.
hard one, man.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. It definitely is. But you know what? I think, like me ending up at UCLA was definitely like the choice that was right for me. Because
Mhm.
obviously, like once you kind of choose your schools, like you gotta make that decision. Like it's not just about like the rankings, right? Like it's not about like how good of a school it is. It's more about like how good of a fit they are for you as an individual, right? And I think that's a lot more important, and that's kind of how I chose UCLA. Like for example, I got in Berkeley for the same like program for mechanical engineering, but and even though,
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah,
if
it's
you look
really
it up,
hard to get in there.
exactly. So if you look it up online, I'm sure like Berkeley mechanical engineering is a lot better than, or
Yeah.
not a lot better, just like a little bit above UCLA's. But I think in terms
Mhm.
of like me as a person, like the personality fit for school, UCLA was just like top choice for me because it has that like balance between academics. It has that like sports. Like they're big on sports. It's got that like social scene. It's got the like being in LA. It's got that influence there, right? all these things, like those were important to me, and a location as well. And so that's why I kind of chose UCLA over everything else, despite like it not being like probably the best school that I got into per se, like the most prestigious school, right? So yeah,
Mhm.
that's how I went about.
I, I think you made the right choice, man. Because coming from the Bay, like working in tech,
Yeah,
I worked with a lot of people from Cal, right? And they're EECS, electrical engineering, computer science, right?
yeah,
And you definitely strike me more like this LA vibe personality.
thank
And
you.
I think you being UCLA, like this is like probably the perfect choice for you. Like keep it 100. Like you made the right choice, man.
Exactly.
And I know a lot of my friends coming from OC, like UCLA is like the dream school for them, right? Because it has sports, it has that social aspect. It's a very good school academically, and it's really well respected. I think you just made the right choice, my friend.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that like, being at a school, it's once you're in, like it's honestly a lot less about the name and more about like how you make of it, obviously as well, right? Like you
Mhm.
can be at the best school in the world, and if you don't like make anything out of it, just like not trying after you get in, there's no value in that anyways, right? So it's kind of like how you make of it, and really like what you do with your time here, like, right? I think that's more important as well. So.
Yeah, I agree. Is it has I think kind of like the super very like underrated during like college is being near your family, being near your friends, especially being like an hour and a half away, right from like the OC area. How has that been for you?
Yeah, I mean, so actually the location was one of the deciding factors as to why I chose
Mhm.
UCLA. I think the location is like unbeatable. I mean, like it's far away from my family, like far enough so that like I'm not living like at home. I think that like it's good for me
Mhm.
to kind of gain that independence and leave my family for this bit, and be able to grow on my own, right? Like not yeah, like growing on my own is pretty important to me, but I also want to be close to family, to friends, and also to my girlfriend who goes to UC Irvine. And so
Okay, there you go. Zod
yeah,
zone.
exactly. So that was a big factor for me, and the big like deciding factor as to why I decided to go to UCLA, because like I was kind of like debating between UCLA and Cornell. Cornell was a big draw to me too,
Big
because
Red.
yeah, because
Yeah.
they gave me a lot of money to go there too. So
Oh, really? Yeah.
yeah. So it was like almost like a full ride. And so I was like,
No
oh,
way. It's an
I was,
Ivy League, man.
yeah. I was like, dang, it's a good school, and they give me like a lot of money, so I don't really have to pay much out of
Yeah.
pocket. Um, but yeah, I mean, ultimately, choosing UCLA, like it was actually a little more expensive when I first chose UCLA rather
Yeah.
than no. But like with like scholarship and things like that, everything got covered in the end. So I'm ended up playing like the least coming to UCLA. So everything worked out at the
That's
end.
awesome.
Yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that's yeah. So, but
Did you
the
did you fly over to Ithaca?
well, no, because I had like a lot of time to kind of like make this decision, and like obviously like flying over there will be like a lot of like money and a lot of like
Yeah.
uh like
Go East Coast.
just a
Yeah.
lot of yeah, so it's going to the East Coast, and I didn't have the funds for it, so I
Mhm.
kind of just like did a lot of research online, like watching YouTube videos about Cornell,
Mhm.
about UCLA, all these things. And I mean, because I'm like really close to UCLA, I kind of visited there, and like I really
Yeah.
like the campus. And so that kind of drew me in a lot as well. I think I saw somewhere that like UCLA was like the most Instagrammable university
Yeah.
campus.
I can see that, man. There's a whole bunch of
Yeah,
Instagrammers and TikTokers
yeah,
in a row.
exactly. Yeah. So and so like I think I remember I also visited like Caltech. And
Mhm.
I kind of really just did not like the vibe of the campus, and that kind of
Really?
threw me away. Yeah, I don't know why. Like for me, that first impression with the campus was kind of important for me. Um, Not necessarily
Mhm.
like a good or bad thing. I think it's not necessarily like a model like where, oh, if you didn't really vibe with the campus in the beginning, that you'll hate it for the rest of your like the time you're here. But like for me, like I was like, yeah, like Caltech was just not it, so I just didn't even think about it. And I like
Yeah.
to me, Cornell kind of felt that way after I did a lot more research on it. And so I was like,
Yeah.
that location was pretty important. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm glad you selected UCLA. I have a lot of friends at Anderson right now. For their viewers who are curious, UCLA Anderson is our business school at UCLA. And they are my friends who I'm doing my master's with. They actually went to Cornell too. So they were out at Ithaca for undergrad, yeah. And then they thought, hey, it's a lot better here at UCLA than it is. And we only got you. It's all sunny here. There's no snow, and everyone's all happy here. So, I
Yeah.
think, like you said, I think you made the right choice coming to UCLA. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's transition over now to your going into your freshman year, right? You got into you got your salutatorian, you became a salutatorian, you got into your dream school at UCLA, and then coming in freshman year, what was that like? Do you have roommates? And then how was that transition over from high school to freshman year?
Yeah, I think that like transition for me, I mean, I don't know why, because I always thought myself as a very social, very outgoing person, but that transition for
Mm-hmm.
me was actually quite tough, to be honest with you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so to kind of start off, like I did have roommates. I have two roommates who I'm still
Mm-hmm.
rooming with this year. So I've
Oh, correct.
been with them for a year now, the second year. And they're
Yeah.
great people, both mechanical engineers I found on Instagram.
Oh,
when I
wait.
exactly in that point when I kind of accepted my like acceptance letter and was like looking for roommates, looking for friends kind of thing. And so both mechanical engineers, awesome people. I still obviously I hang out with them because they're my roommates still.
Yeah.
But I think overall that transition was a lot different than I expected because like for me as kind of like a social person, I thought like immediately I was gonna have like, friends who I was gonna be able to, go out with all the time and things like that. But I think what's the most different from high school to college is the fact that like, in college you're kind of on your own and like such a big campus as UCLA is. I
Mhm.
mean, there's so many things to do, right? So many things to do, so many options, and so many people to do them with. And so it's like a lot of the times I find myself like being in like getting into friendships where you kind of do like one thing with them or two things, and then that friendship kind of
Mhm.
just like never takes off from there, you know. And
Yeah.
and and that was kind of like it, like to describe it accurately, it was more like very like surface level friendships, I would say. And like
Mhm.
I think for me, it was like I'm more of a person who likes to seek for like friendships where there's kind of like that sentimental value and that like
Yeah. That's beautiful.
right, exactly, and that like deep friendship, where you
Mhm.
kind of able to support each other, kind of able to depend on each other, and I think that's like a sort of friendship I found in high school, and that's something that I wanted to
Yeah.
replicate here at UCLA, and so it was a struggle to
Mhm.
find that kind of friendship, um, straight away, right? I mean, I think
Yeah.
definitely a bit on my part that I didn't do well was the fact that like I kind of expected it right away, but
Mhm.
right because like in high school it's kind of handed to you, like you're always with them. It's so by proximity, like everyone knows everyone and everyone is
Everyone, yeah.
exactly like everyone goes to lunch together, everyone is like on break together, has the same classes. I mean, there's only like 1,500 kids.
Mhm.
It's not that big, right? So I kind of already knew
Yeah.
everyone in high school and knew who I really can depend on, who are my real friends, right? But in
Mhm.
college, it's not the same. And in college, everyone's busy, everyone's doing
Yeah.
everything, right? So you really gotta make the effort level that you have to put into these friendships was like exponentially more. And that kind of like hit me a little bit more, especially because of kind of like the goals that I wanted to set for myself in college were a lot more
Mhm.
academic focused, right? Like I didn't want to
Yeah.
be going to college, and not taking anything away from it. Like I wanted to really gain that, experience and make the most out of college. And so that's why like I guess for my first year, my main kind of regret was like putting in my all, like not being able to put in my all into these like relationships and
Mhm.
friendships and expecting a lot,
Relationships.
right, exactly, and expecting a lot more from them than I like imagined, and you know what I mean. And so
I know
it was
exactly
a
what you mean.
transition than I thought for sure. Yeah, so that was kind of like my transition.
When it came to I guess making friends when you first came in, I think a lot of people have like this fear, anxiety of coming to college, not knowing anyone, right? 1,500 people now at UCLA, the biggest Division I public UC we
Yeah.
have here in California. Like, what did you do to make friends? Was it all through your classes or through clubs? Kind of how did you do that transition?
Yeah, I mean, I think like for everyone it's gonna be different, but
Mhm.
for me specifically, I think I didn't really make too many friends through, classes. I think
Mhm.
for me, like clubs were a very big one. I joined UCLA's Brew and Racing Club
Mhm.
during freshman year. Yeah, so it's a club where it's the Bruin Racing big umbrella organization, and then three sub teams under that. One of them, in which is I'm in, is called Super Mileage, Bruin Super Mileage. And what my
Yeah,
team focuses on is, finding like building the most energy efficient vehicles. And so,
that's
like,
so cool.
yeah, yeah. So it's super cool, and we do like competition. We race this car that we build in a racetrack like further down in April, and we do this
Mhm.
competition every year, and it's a place, like it's a club. It's also a community. Like I found
Yeah.
a lot of my engineering friends through it.
Oh
Obviously
wow.
it's an engineering club, so like a
Engineering
lot of
club. Yeah.
mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, like all of these people are in it. And so that kind of exposed me to like that broader community, which I really kind of found through, as well as just
Mhm.
like other different clubs. I also joined the Christian club on campus.
Oh, cool. That's
'Cause-
awesome.
yeah, because I'm Christian and I wanted to find a community there as well. And obviously like I think I would say like I'm more of like a generalist, right? Like I like to explore different fields, explore different things. So I also joined an entrepreneurship club, like the one which I sold the
Yes.
shirts in. Yeah, exactly. And so I made a lot of my good friends there as well. And I'm actually beginning like my journey with them this year with that club. Like this is my first year joining that club. So still in the beginning phases with them. Just had a quarter, and it's an amazing club with amazing people. So yeah, I think really just got to put yourself out there. Like I really kind of failed to kind of like put myself fully out there, and was just like kind of on my own during that first year of
Mhm.
college, right? But like this year, I'm really trying to find like mediums, find organizations in which like I'm able to find people who are like kind of interested in the same thing that I am, and like
Yeah.
who are kind of like just driven in the same way that I am, and that's kind of like been really helpful in like creating these meaningful relationships as well.
Yeah.
So
And that's awesome that you're doing that. I think it's beautiful how you reflect back on your freshman year and like what you feel like you could have done better. And then now your sophomore year, you join a lot of clubs. You're trying to find people who you can relate with and kind of grow with. And you're gonna start seeing it's like this beautiful journey throughout your years at UCLA. And keep doing what you're doing. You're doing amazing. Very proud of you, my friend. Um, a lot of this channel is focused kind of like on giving back, right? And a lot of it's also focused on business and technology. You mentioned you're in the entrepreneur club. Can we talk a bit more about that? How did you find it? And then I want if you can go into that the shirt that you and I kind of met and how this kind of relationship came about, how we became friends. So
yeah,
talk about
mate.
the entrepreneur
Yeah,
club.
sure. So entrepreneurship club. So the reason why, like, just backstory, the reason why I joined this club was
Mhm.
because like I think, I mean, like, who didn't want to be like a business owner when they're young, right? Like it's really
Yeah.
not just, that's like the dream, right? Like, but it's a lot
Yeah.
harder than a lot harder than you think. And so for most people, including me, like I kind of just like kind of put that in the back burner. That was just like no longer my like in my thought process. Like, oh, I'm gonna be an entrepreneur. Like I was not thinking about anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that kind of re-entered my like life when I kind of started to do internships through the like after I got in UCLA, I started doing internships, and a
Mhm.
lot of them were at startups. And so through this like
Oh, it's so interesting.
exactly through this startup culture, it kind of brought entrepreneurship back into my life. And so I was like, you know
Mhm.
what, like I enjoy like seeing these people, seeing like this community, and not just like a company, but like a community of people who are so like driven and so like willing to take that first step into the unknown and make something that no one else think about, something that no one else has ever done before, and just go for it, like in, you know, any
Yeah.
sort of way, any sort of field. And I was like, wow, like then that's like no longer like working like just to work, right? Like that's like working towards something that you believe in. And like, because that's the only way you're going to be able to succeed, is working towards something you firmly believe in. And that you and the people you're surrounded by are also those people as well. And I think that's such a thing. And so and working at those startups, I kind of saw a lot of that. And that's kind of why I brought entrepreneurship into my life. And I was like, you know what, maybe I try this again, or like for the first time, or like maybe like this is something that I might want to do in the future too. Let me learn about what entrepreneurship is all about. And so that's kind of the reason why I decided to, you know, like join entrepreneurship club at UCLA. And so yeah, so with this club, right, like a lot of entrepreneur, or like not just entrepreneurship, but like a lot of club, like the business clubs at UCLA, at least for undergrad. I'm not too sure about like other like graduate school, if you guys even have clubs, but a lot of the entrepreneurship or business, just general business clubs at UCLA are actually competitive clubs. So it's not like a
Interesting.
yeah, so it's not like a everyone can join type of thing, which like obviously has its pros and cons, right? You know, like you obviously want as many people as you can, but it is a very selective process. And so there was a whole like selective process that we had to go through for these clubs. So I think there was like
Interesting.
yeah. So like there was like 200 people who apply, and only 12 of us actually.
Wow, no way. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
So
So
you
only,
were 212.
yeah. So 12 people were
16%.
selected. Yeah, out of everyone who applied, which was crazy. It was a 5-day process where, you know, they got to know us, and finally picking the 12 people that they thought, you know, would be able to finally join the club. And so it was a crazy process. Just that was a crazy process. Like I didn't know what to get it. Like, well, I don't even know. I did not know what I was getting into, because obviously it's not my specialty. It's not my field. I'm a mechanical engineer, right?
You're Mackie, man.
Exactly. Doing it just for fun. But honestly, like the club is a really like enriching experience, right? Like the people there are amazing, all like, you know, top of the top, like best of the best people. And so that's how like jumping into how like the shirts came about. So for after you are kind of like accepted into this club, right? There's kind of like obviously like a process, like an onboarding process with the club.
Yeah.
They kind of teach you the ins and outs of like entrepreneurship, and a part of that is obviously doing the entrepreneurship yourself, right? And so
Yourself, yeah.
exactly. And so what we had to do was really like creating a venture. That's what they call it, a venture that was going to run throughout the entire quarter. And then it was going to be built from the grounds up by us, by the 12 of us and no one else. And we had to kind of manage the whole thing from, you know, number one, deciding what the venture is. And then number two, assigning roles with the 12 people. And then, you know, communicating with other people who we might be working with, along with like outside of just the 12 of us, like how are we going to outsource things? And ultimately, the ultimate goal is to make this arbitrary goal that we had set for ourselves the beginning of the quarter by the end of the quarter. And so like they don't tell us what is an appropriate amount, but they're like, this is the goal that you have to meet. But they reveal what other just like the members who came before us have raised in the past.
Yeah.
After we have
So
raised.
cool.
So it's kind of like it's not a competition, but like it's almost like, oh, let's see how much we can like make, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Step
so
it up, right?
yeah, we want to set the bar high. So for our class, for our group of like the members that were onboarding, we set the goal to be $5,000 by the end of the quarter. And so that was the goal. And then we had to do anything in our ability to make that happen. And so obviously, like you know, we ultimately ended up going with the shirts idea. But before that, we had actually Yeah, we had actually came up with a few different ideas. Um, a few of those include we had like a tutoring idea. So like we wanted to like do like
Oh, wow.
tutoring, exactly like tutoring kids, right? Tutoring
Yeah.
kids. That was an idea that we almost went with. Another idea was like it was called Bandom. So what it was
Mhm.
the idea was we were trying to promote like our artists and musicians to like promote them and kind of make them known by having them play like their music at parties. And so we would host
Oh, it's
these
so cool.
fundraisers. We would host these
Yeah.
fundraisers and have these like small name like artists and musicians come play for us. But like, and then we kind of thought about it and we were like, you know, like that isn't that just like throwing fundraisers all day, like you know, but
Yeah, yeah,
it's just like
yeah.
artist aspect. So ultimately, we kind of decided on a more like, you know, like more of like a business type of idea, which is like selling shirts and making a brand, you know, making a presence on campus. And I think that's what we did. Yeah. So that was kind of like how I got into this whole thing. And then, so for the shirts, how we ended up selling them was at first we kind of like drew up this design that we had. Really,
Yeah.
we had to like brainstorm kind of that design that we wanted, and it had to be like general, but like also like nice enough so that people would buy it, right? And then so we had different teams doing design, doing outsourcings for like actually like what shirts we're gonna make, right? And like and the material,
Oh, wow.
the cost of the shirt, and like we had people going to like LA to actually like I was one of the people who actually went to buy the shirts themselves.
That's
And
so cool. Yeah.
we have people making them, you know, making sales strategies, like making that Instagram. So we had an Instagram
Yeah.
that gained quite a bit of following actually.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, yeah. So and then and we were just selling both in person on Brew and Walk as well as getting a presence online using like an online
Mhm.
space. And so through all of that, we were able to actually sell quite a bit of shirts. And you know, obviously, like long story short, I mean, we all have our own lives to like we all 12 of us have our own classes, have our own lives to go through. So honestly, like the preparation step probably took like 2-3 weeks to get everything prepared, but the actual selling of the shirts was probably 4 days in total. So
Wow. No
yeah,
way.
yeah, so 4 to 5 days in total was actually how long we actually genuinely put our all into selling for. And
Yeah.
the first two of those days was us having that like that test run, and then I think we bought like 150 shirts.
150
And,
shirts. Yeah.
we bought 150 shirts, and then I think we made a total of like 1,000 something dollars from those.
Congrats.
Yeah, and then so with that money, we were kind of able to break even on the
Mhm.
materials. And then the best thing about breaking even is that like after that, everything else is up, right? So the
It's
rest
all
of
profit. Yep.
all profit, exactly. And so after that, I think there was 2 days. So I think you bought our shirts on our first run, which was the test run that
Oh,
brought us to
interesting.
the $1,000 mark. After that, it only took us 2 days to reach $5,000 in one day.
Wow. Congrats,
Yeah.
man.
In
That's
one day,
awesome.
in one day, we made $2,000. So,
No way.
which is crazy
Dude,
because
that's crazy.
yeah. So we were actually out there for 12 hours on that one day.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, and we sold $2,000 worth of shirts.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, and then like we brought it up to the current members of the club, who
Yeah.
are like in the club, and like their jaws just dropped. They're like,
Yeah.
"No way, you just did that!" Like in one day. So yeah, it was pretty
And
incredible. Yeah, it was
you're
surreal.
I remember getting this shirt and the quality was really good, right? So I was impressed. Usually you get a game shirt from like some generic brand shirt
Yeah,
and then it's like, it doesn't feel good.
yeah,
And then the design was nice too. So it was
yeah,
something I'd be proud to wear. It's
Yeah.
not just like a typical brewing thing because, you know, you want to have the drip, you want to look good, and you usually don't want just like that typical shirt.
Yeah.
And your shirt had a great design.
Mhm.
So it's, you know, the crazy thing is, Jake, is that like at Anderson, we have a capstone project.
Yeah.
You know what capstone is?
Yes, exactly.
It's
It's
got
like the
you'll have a
final thing,
capstone
like
too.
senior capstone, right? Yeah.
Yeah, senior capstone. So for Anderson, they'll give us like $5,000 and then we have to build the product and then sell it as well. And I have a lot of friends who did that capstone. They didn't make any money, right? You guys, you were able to actually make $2,000 in a day. So that I was just want to give you your props because they're like MBA students who can't even make $2,000 in one day off their product, let alone you guys do it all through Brew and Walk, like
Yeah.
just that specific niche of a community. And I can only imagine if you scaled like on Shopify or like, you know, you marketed it through like ads or something, you probably would have made even more money. So I just gotta give you your props there. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I think that like obviously like I even was like, wow, there's no way we did that, right?
Yeah.
But it was definitely a lot of things that, you know, was that gone into it. I mean, obviously the weeks of preparations before, right? Like that was like a big thing was the preparation for that like launch, for that, you know, like that success that came afterwards. You know, because for a while, for weeks, like we weren't making anything, right? Like we were purely doing the design, we were purely doing the marketing, and it wasn't like any profitable at all. But it's like that kind of preparation that kind of was allowed us to kind of like launch that ultimate
Yeah.
success that we had. Yeah. So and then also I know what you're saying about that like that niche of audience, right? And I think that
Mm-hmm.
I definitely agree that, you know, it was really awesome that we were able to do that. But I think because Brew and Walk, like you said, is just that niche of community, and it's just the same kind of people, the same people walking by. I think like
Yeah.
after a while, like if everyone sees us there for like weeks, like everyone is gonna already know us. And I feel like
Yeah.
at that point, it's like it's gonna plateau really quickly, you know, that profit margin, because like, oh, this is brand new, this is interesting, and people are gonna buy it. But like it's the same people walking, so it's like, oh, they're still there, but like I already bought a shirt, or like I'm already not interested, and they're still here to annoy me. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
like because we kind of already like capitalized on that like immediate like success, it was gonna be a lot harder if we had to like push that like further on. You know what I mean? So there was definitely like a limit as to how much that like success was gonna keep going. Yeah. So but like I do think it was a great experience as well. So yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. I feel like when you graduate like in 2 years, this is like one thing you'll always remember, right? The
Mhm.
fact that you were able to manifest the product just from the idea phase
Mhm.
all the way to actually selling and generating revenue and getting profit from it. This is something you'll take away from you, right? I don't ever forget, like you have this superpower, man, like of building a product and actually selling it. And then you have your superpower of engineering that you're going to be developing these next 4 years. So don't ever like lose sight of that you have these superpowers and you're great with people, right? So
Thank
don't ever forget that. Keep cherishing and keep growing that superpower. And wherever you go in life, it's going to be beautiful and you're going to be very successful. So a lot of props to you,
you,
friend.
everyone.
Gotta give you your flowers, man. That's awesome.
And we
That's
appreciate it.
so cool, man.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So with if you can give the audience like one piece of advice like that you learned from that whole experience,
Mhm.
what would that be?
I think I have to think about that for a second. And I think I wanted to like obviously target kind of like those who are like younger than me, right? Like because
Mm-hmm.
uh it's something that like it's obviously my first time doing it as well. Um and I would say that like the advice I would give to especially like those who are younger than me, you know, who haven't tried this before, is that like
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't hurt to try, and you know, you never know unless you try, right? Because you know, like us, like we as like 12 just random people put together to sell a random product with like no um idea in mind at first, and like nothing to go off of, right? And doing something that we're all unfamiliar with, all had to learn from the grounds up. Like it was obviously daunting and intimidating, but you know,
Mhm.
it's something that like you never know unless you try. And we tried, and we did it, and we succeeded. And so yeah, and especially for those who are at my, you know, age, and at like, you know, even those younger than me, like there's nothing to lose. Like we're so young, there's like
Mhm.
absolutely
Yeah.
nothing to lose. There's no way you can screw up your entire life just by, you know, like making a little
Yeah.
mistake here and there, right? So like even if you like were to like invest a little into yourself, like at the very least, you're getting that experience, right? Like it doesn't even have to be
Mhm.
like the money that you're getting. It's like, at the very least, you're investing in yourself, and you're getting something out of it, which is that experience, which, like you said, would like stay with me for so long, right? Because at the very like at first, like we invested like 600, 700, all like 12 of us pitched in money to
Oh,
invest.
interesting.
Exactly, right? Like we had to pitch in ourselves for the
Yeah.
shirts, and it's like if we didn't make any money, that was God. Like that was that, right?
Yeah.
So it's like we obviously had to invest and believe in ourselves and just give it a try. And obviously, like this in this scenario, it was kind of like like we had to do it, but in a scenario where it's like oh, let's like should I do it? Like it's like you should say yes more often than not, because you know you always take
Yeah.
something. So yeah.
Yeah. That's so beautiful, man. Like you had skin in the game, right? You invested your own money. So there was like a you had if you had you wanted it to succeed, you wanted to do well because this is your own money. And then you weren't afraid of failure, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're so young, you know that if I lose this money, I'll make it again. It's gonna be
Yeah.
okay, right?
Mhm.
So that's some great like advice for everyone, like especially the younger generation who
Yeah.
kind of wants to probably do what you're doing, and envisions themselves in that point. What do you see is next for the Entrepreneur Club? I know you had this very successful run with the shirts. Do you see yourself being in the club for these next 2.5 years now at UCLA? Where do you see you going with that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think, you know, the people who are in this club is very like-minded to me. Like, even though,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we may not share the same major perhaps, or the same like interests even, we kind of share the
Mm-hmm.
same mindset. We always want to grow.
Yeah.
We always want to do something new. We always want to be the first one to try, right? And that's something that I think is important. And I really love the people who are in the club. We have people who have gone on Shark Tank and made deals there. Yeah,
Oh
so
no
like
way! That's so
yeah,
cool.
yeah, one of the members in the club literally went on Shark Tank, and you know, got funding, and is now a multi-million-dollar company. And while
No
he's still
way!
in college, and literally has a factory in Burbank making slime for as a
No
business.
way!
Yeah,
Do you want to talk about that? That's crazy.
yeah. So he's my friend. His name's Mark Lin, and you know, in high school he started a slime business pretty much just from his.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so through the presence of like social media and things like that, it really started taking off. And you know, it's just like one video is all it takes. Like one video on TikTok, on Instagram is all it takes
Blow
for your
up.
business to blow up. And you know, he just kind of rode that wave and never stopped from there. And you know, went on Shark Tank, got a pretty massive deal. I think it was like 250K deal. Yeah, with Damien, I think that's the
Oh,
guy.
yeah. He started Fubu, right? Damon is the Fubu
I
guy.
think so. Yeah, yeah. I'm not too familiar with the investors, but I mean, I just know that they're great investors, and
Yeah.
that they invested in his company, and now they're like he's like a multi-million dollar company.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome, man. Do
People
you
like that.
ever
Yeah.
oh,
Go ahead.
do you envision yourself starting something like that too? Because you have the engineering experience, right?
Mhm.
You have the entrepreneurial experience, or you've seen a concept actually do well. Do you think you'll end up just doing that,
Yeah.
kind of like down the road?
Yeah, I think that's like that's a good goal of mine for sure. I think that entrepreneurship, because especially because I'm surrounded by people who are doing this, it's not just him. Like there's multiple people doing different things, being backed by VC and like all these things. It's amazing. And so that kind of inspires me to do something like that. And I'm almost kind of preparing myself to do things like that on a foundational level by developing both skills in engineering, that hard engineering skill, and like the soft skills of like public speaking, like, like being able to think, on my head, like on my feet, and being able to communicate with people well, all these little things to kind of prepare myself so that if I were to think about if I see the time is right, or like I see a product that I want to develop, or like I will like take that chance, I will take that risk, and I'll definitely do that. Especially with the support that is around me, I think it's definitely like more to gain than lose. So I'm definitely on that route as well.
Yeah,
So yeah,
that's
yeah,
awesome. And if you ever do that, always happy to help. Reach out. You have your
yeah,
friend who got on Shark Tank, and then don't forget too, you're at UCLA, where a lot of the professors at Anderson are like venture capitalists or successful investors. So they write the checks to a lot of the students or the people in the Silicon Beach is what we call it.
yeah,
So you have all the infrastructure you need here like in Westwood,
hmm
and you're a very social guy. So always shoot your shot, reach out. People are happy to help, and just keep giving good to the world, because what you're doing is you're inspiring a lot of people, and I appreciate you sharing this amazing story and getting it out there.
yeah, yeah. Thank you so
Um,
much.
of course, man. Um, I want to kind of go into your major now, right? We talked so many great things about like your entrepreneur club, and then now I want you to, if you can talk about why you got into mechanical engineering, because I feel like a lot of the younger generation who are probably applying to UCLA, trying to transfer into UCLA, they don't know what major to select, and they are just declaring something or going undeclared. Why did you pick mechanical engineering, and what have you learned so far?
Yeah, no, that's an amazing question, because I think that mechanical engineering, like, okay, so I think at least just to start off, the me picking mechanical engineering was probably like the best decision like I
Mm-hmm.
could have made. I think there's no major that suits me more, even though
That's
like
awesome.
yeah, even though a lot of people say like I'm like a busy econ guy.
Yeah,
But
because you can learn the busy econ skills.
yeah, but I think that that mechanical engineering cannot be any more right for me. It's the best major for me. And why is that? It's because I think, you know, I like the technical side of things. Like
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed, math and physics when I was in high school. And that was something that I wanted to keep on learning. Obviously, because like I found it interesting. It wasn't like it wasn't because I was like that good at it. Like I think physics was really, really like I didn't like get the best grades in it, right? Like it was challenging to me, but it was fun. Like physics was fun for me. And
Mm-hmm.
so I really liked learning about it. And I really liked what the concepts in it, like understanding the physical world, right? And that's what it was all about. And I wanted to dig deeper into that. And also I think that mechanical engineering is I think, at least in my opinion, it's the most versatile engineering.
Mm-hmm.
Engineer. It's so broad, like it's the foundation for a lot of engineering that came after it. Like in mechanical engineering, we're not just learning about mechanical engineering. We're kind of learning about electronics, electrical engineering. We're kind of learning about like, structures, which is
Mm-hmm.
like civil engineering, right?
No.
Exactly. We're learning about materials, which is like material science, chemical engineering. Like all these things we're like kind of exposed to are like things that other engineer students are learning as well. And me
Mm-hmm.
being kind of like the generalist that I am, like I'm not really looking into dig super deep into one specific discipline or specific
Yeah.
field. Whereas I'm kind of wanting to get that breadth of like so much, and like that understanding, and be able to create value in that way. And just because that's just how I like to see the world. That's how I like to learn more, is by learning that breadth. Obviously, I do want to dig deep in certain aspects, but definitely not like a lot, and not like the specialist kind of deep level, right? And so that's kind of why I chose mechanical engineering, because of its like versatility, its breadth, and then also like how it might connect with physical products in which I can take into business in the future, like the entrepreneurship aspect as well. Like being able to understand the product, any product from a technical standpoint, I think is very valuable in a business world as well. So
Oh yeah, I agree. It's fascinating you mentioned that. Um, when I watch like a lot of like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk,
yeah,
and Elon was a physics major, I think,
yep,
at when he was at Penn,
yep,
and then Jeff Bezos when he was at Princeton, he really, really wanted to become a theoretical physicist. That was like his dream, but he wasn't that good. But he loved physics, and which is kind of like something you do, which is pretty awesome. And then another thing I want to mention is like I think he picked the right boat. When I say the right boat, it's that Warren Buffett, when Warren Buffett was in grad school, his friend wanted to get into big steel, and his friend was just as smart and much smarter than Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett picked finance because he thought there were finance good. So of course Warren Buffett became the most successful billionaire like in finance, right? And then now our boats, our generation, like kind of where we are right now, it's technology, right? So the fact that you pick like tech with mechanical engineering, you and I both know AI tech is gonna take off, right?
yeah,
So keep harnessing that superpower, which is that mechanical engineering, which is that engineering and that business side of things, and you'll be unstoppable. Like when you get out of school or when you choose to build something during school, wherever it may be. So that's pretty cool that you picked that. And mechanical engineering is very hard to get into. Like most people don't get into that. Like they'll get denied because there's like 500,000 kids applied for that single major. Especially at Cal at UCLA.
yeah, yeah. No, that's true, and I think that like what you bring up is really great, and I think that I think I read somewhere that engineers are actually the most likely to become CEOs. I think
Yeah.
I think it's 30%, 30-some% of engineers, of top 500 CEOs are engineers to begin with.
Yeah.
So a lot of engineers or a lot of CEOs like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, they are engineers at heart. And I think that's kind of like a route that I want to also take potentially, right? I obviously don't know exactly what I want to take with my life yet, like the path I want to take. But I think I have a general direction, and I want to do a lot more exploring. And yeah, and not just in mechanical engineering, right? Like I said, in business, but also in CS too. So like you said, AI, like big tech, these are all things that are, and have been like the thing for a while now. And so obviously I'm not like, I didn't forget that. And so I'm also, trying my best to learn a lot of computer science as well. Okay. I think computer science, as a mechanical engineer, it's never harm. Like it's never bad. Like, it's always better for me to learn more to learn like computer science on the side, just for that mechatronics aspect of it, working with robots, right? Like that software, hardware, and like the physical body, right? And like having a combination of like all these things is probably like really, like I think really, really beneficial, and not just like from applying for a job standpoint, but like just like in the job, like this is a very valuable asset, I think, that is needed. So like yeah.
I completely agree. Like this, I feel like the smartest people I've worked with at Google have always been the people who were very technically excellent, right? With the hardware side, the software side, and then the business side, right? So keep tailoring those three things, and you're gonna be unstoppable, man. Like you're doing great. That's great, man.
Yeah.
That's cool. With that being said, like I know you have 2.5 years left, right? You talked about you want to grow on the entrepreneur side, and then you want to kind of keep doing the mechanic side. What is your top 3 goals for these next 2.5 years before you graduate at UCLA? What can you share with the audience to kind of inspire those who are on the same journey as you?
Top 3 goals. I think number one, like first and foremost, I think the number one goal I have is to establish, and I know this is like not really like academic, but I genuinely think that this is so important, is to establish a firm like group of people who I can really call friends, who I can really depend on, like a network of people who I can, truly learn from, gain from, and like just like go on this journey with. I think that, like the reason why is that like I feel like, you know, in college, we're all here to learn, right? And in college, a lot of these
Mm-hmm.
friendships are gonna be a lot more pure than friendships that potentially you make in the workforce later on, because obviously, like then it's like the corporate aspect, right? Like that kind of aspect, and I think that having these people in your life that like once you're away from college and you take away these friendships, these are the people who are going to support you like in your lowest, and these are the people who are going to like cheer you on the most and be able to help you along in this journey, not just through college but like through life, right? And so I think to be able to walk with people who I can like learn from and who I can look up to, and just like really really bond with, connect with, is so important. Because if I'm able to create that bond, I think like like to have that bond and to have like that group, like tight knit group of people, is like you can't really have that without like having like things already kind of like set up yourself. You know what I mean? Like that kind of implies that you are, like already kind of like driven and you are like-minded like them. Like you are like similar to what they are, right? And like I think people say that like your closest 5 friends are like what makes you, right? Like they kind of
Yep.
like,
Yeah.
and so it's kind of like that. It's like
Yeah.
to find those people who you truly believe in and who you truly like care about and value is kind of like finding, or like finding yourself and like finding like what you want as well. And so I think that's the most important thing to me. The second thing is to I think the second goal would probably to kind of like uh, accomplish what I sought out to do during college, like in terms of academically. And what I mean by that is to develop myself in 3 aspects, right? Like is the obviously number 1, the mechanical engineering side. Number 2 is the business side, entrepreneur business side, as well as the CS side. And I kind of want to develop those. I wouldn't say like simultaneous, or like yes, simultaneously, but like kind of like develop them all, right? And
Mm-hmm.
obviously, like people are going to school just for one, like most people are. So like
Yeah.
I'm able to develop all 3, and in a good like in a good to a good level, to a good degree. I think would be really awesome. Like I think that like that would be beyond like my my like wishes, right? Like even if I had 2 of them, even if I had developed 2 of them extremely well, I would be extremely happy with myself. Yeah, so hopefully if I don't screw up all 3, that would be
You're gonna do great.
right. And then I think number 3 is to, like I said earlier, finding that direction, right? Like now that I've gained these skills, now that I have kind of found these like skills now that I have, right? Like develop myself to this degree, I want to be a lot more clear as to where like the direction I want to take with my life, especially like in my 20s, because I think that's like a very interesting time in life and very a time to try a lot of things, and I don't want to waste it, right? It's never yeah. So I really want to like do a lot in my 20s, and I want to have a good direction once I'm out of college, like to like where I really want to take my skills and like where I want to create value. Yeah. So
That's awesome, man. That's great top 3 goals. And I know for a fact you're going to develop these skills that you're looking for, find the friends that you want, and just really love and enjoy your 20s, right? It's going to be this beautiful journey that I know you're going to embark on. It's going to be full of ups and downs, ups and downs, ups and downs. But whatever happens, I know you're going to be a better person from it, and you're going to have an amazing time with this journey. And if you ever need anything from me, man, always happy to help you. I appreciate you coming on board. Like, you inspired me. The entrepreneurial story was amazing. I can tell you put in the work to get into UCLA, right? And you're going to inspire the generation coming before you who wants to go into UCLA, who wants to kind of emulate you in your career. So don't ever forget that you're helping a lot of people out by sharing your story. Your story is beautiful. It's amazing. And I'm very happy and thankful that you chose the podcast to share your story. So I appreciate you, my friend.
Yeah, thank you so much again for having me on. You know, I've never been on a podcast before. It's first time for everything.
Yeah.
But you're a great host.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep at it. 100%. Yeah.
I appreciate you, brother. Yeah, this is one of my favorite episodes. Keep 100. It was great. I learned a lot, and I appreciate you, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate you a lot.
Yeah. With that being said, I appreciate everyone watching this podcast. Thank you, Jello family. When you guys get a chance, please like, comment, subscribe. I'll leave Jake's kind of social media down here, as well as links to Entrepreneur Club. And then you can follow Jake's story as well. I know Jake is going to do amazing at UCLA and in the real world as he kind of goes through this amazing journey. So I appreciate you, Jello family, and have an amazing day, y'all. Peace.